You've probably seen them. Confucius says, followed by some deep-sounding piece of life advice. His name became a global meme, on cookies, t-shirts, and posts everywhere. The whole world quotes him. But ask one question. Who was Confucius really? What did he actually do? Most people draw a blank. The real man was no quote machine. He was an old man who lived past 70 and spent that whole life being turned away. Door after door slammed in his face. Strangers mocked him in the street. When he died, he believed his life had been a failure. Yet 2,000 years later, half of East Asia still lives by his words. How does a failure pull that off? It begins around 551 BCE in a small state called Lu, today's Shandong. His father died early, and the family was poor, but the boy had one obsession: learning, almost forgetting to eat or sleep. He grew up in a violent age. Warlords fought endlessly, order collapsed, and life was cheap. Yet Confucius believed something almost naive. This broken world could be mended through how people treat one another. He distilled his life's teaching into one word: Ren. Put simply, treat others as fellow human beings. Then a second word, Li, using respect and restraint to pull a disordered world back on track. His most striking rule: he didn't care about your birth. Bring a bundle of dried meat as tuition, and even the poorest could study with him. Nobility, he said, never came from bloodline, but from character. Words that bordered on heresy back then. He left one famous line: what you would not want done to you, do not do to others. This golden rule came centuries before many similar sayings in the West. He even admitted plainly, to know what you know and know what you don't. That is true wisdom. There's a story people still tell about his wisdom. One morning, two men were arguing outside Confucius's gate. The man in green insisted a year has 3 seasons. Confucius's students snapped. Nonsense, there are 4. Neither would yield, so they bet. The loser bows 3 times. Then they went to ask Confucius. Confucius looked the green man over and said slowly, yes, a year has 3 seasons. The green man bowed, took his prize, and left delighted. The student was stunned. Teacher, how could you be wrong too? Confucius smiled. Didn't you notice he was all in green? He's a grasshopper, born in spring, gone by autumn. He has never once seen winter. To him, a year really is 3 seasons. You could argue till nightfall and settle nothing. So why bother? Ideas this good? Surely someone would use them. He first took office in Lu, hoping to turn ideals into reality. But the ruler preferred pleasure and power games. No one took his teaching seriously. Around 497 BCE, in his 50s, he left home with his students to try his luck elsewhere. Wei, Song, Chen, Chai, Chu, state after state, like a salesman peddling his dream. And everywhere, doors slammed shut. Not one ruler would truly hire him. At their lowest, they were stranded in the wild and out of food. Students too weak to stand. The hot-tempered Zilu lost his temper at him. Confucius simply kept playing his zither and said calmly, a noble person holds steady, even at rock bottom. On the road, someone even mocked him to his face. Look at him, like a stray dog with no home. Strangely, he took no offense. He laughed and nodded. Quite right, quite right. He'd long understood, not every argument is worth winning. After 14 wandering years, he came full circle and returned to Lu empty-handed. He returned old and gray. Unable to govern, he poured everything back into teaching. Devoted students gathered around him. The one he loved most was called Yan Hui. Yan Hui had only a bowl of rice and a gourd of water, lived in a shabby alley, yet studied with pure joy. But fate was unkind. Still young, Yan Hui died before him. The ever-composed Confucius broke down and wept aloud. Heaven, heaven is destroying me. In 479 BCE, Confucius died. In his own eyes, his life had likely been a failure. If the story ended here, the world would never have remembered him. But his students did one small thing. They wrote down, line by line, what their teacher had said. Those scattered words became a thin little book, the Analects. Centuries later, dynasty after dynasty realized, to govern an empire, they needed exactly this teaching about the human heart. His ideas became state orthodoxy. From then on, to hold office, you first had to master his book. His influence crossed borders, quietly shaping China, Korea, Japan, and Vietnam for 2,000 years. Not one of the kings who turned him away is remembered. The one we remember is the teacher no one would hire. Remember that grasshopper? Later generations summed up his wisdom in one line: you cannot speak of winter's ice to a summer insect. The old man who'd rather lose to a grasshopper than waste his breath, in the end, taught the whole world. His life tells us this: an idea can lose a lifetime and still win across millennia. If you too like meeting the people of history as real living people, hit subscribe and don't lose your way back to them.